There's Tim.
I've got two John Schaefers. Oh,
All right, Will, we're all set, ready to go?
yeah, you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. This is Seth Engelborg, Chair of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. We're meeting today for our Thursday, February 6th, 2025 meeting of the Conservation Commission. We're meeting in a hybrid fashion with some people on Zoom and also people in the meeting trailer. It appears that all the commissioners are on Zoom. So we'll certainly be doing a roll call vote. Before we get too far into the agenda, the first thing we need to do is uh, establish the quorum of members. So members, when you hear your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tim Brain,
Here.
Joe Plandowski,
Here.
John Schaefer. He seems to be having technical problems, but he's here.
Who are you waiting for?
Well, we have a quorum without him, so I think it's okay. Um, Mike Mizzarelli, thanks for joining us. Can you confirm that you're in attendance and can hear us?
Is that better? Better, right?
Mike, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, John, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. I'm here.
And Mike, you're on mute. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I will soon be on my laptop. For some reason, the link is not working, so I'm on my phone at the moment, but I'll switch over as soon as I can.
No worries. We'll get that figured out. And RJ Turcott? RJ Turcott, can you hear us? Are you here? We can't hear you, but we see you nodding. All right. Well, it was a bit difficult, but we have established that we have a quorum of members. While everybody works out their technical problems, we need a acceptance of the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. And Joe, would you like to make the second?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Hi.
Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Plandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott. We cannot hear you.
Thumbs up.
Okay. And Commissioner Williams, thank you for joining us. We're just making a vote on the acceptance of the agenda. Would you like to vote affirmative to that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So that agenda is accepted. We'll now be going over our continuances for this evening. Under public hearing, we have Sconset Beach Preservation Fund at 41 through 119 Baxter Road, SC 48 37 36, continued until February 13th. Under notices of intent, waiver required pre-January 1st submissions, we have Sconset Beach Preservation Fund at 59 through 83 Baxter Road, SC 48 37 59, continued till February 20th. We also have the Summer House of Nantucket Realty Trust, 10 and 16 Ocean Avenue, SC 48 38 24, continued to February 20th. We have Segalini Properties LLC, 8 Bassett Road, SC 48 38 51, continued to February 20th. We have 14 Tatimo Way Realty Trust at 14 Tatimo Way, SC 48 38 40, continued till February 20th. We have West Assured LLC at 62 Winoma Way, SC 483869, continued to February 20th. We have Powers at 36 Bassett Road, SC 483871, continued to February 20th. And we have 15 Eat Fire Spring Road LLC at 15 Eat Fire Spring, continued till February 20th. Then under amended orders of conditions, waiver required, we have 36 Tennessee LLC at 36 Tennessee Avenue, SC 483807, continued till February 20th. And I believe that is it for tonight. So with that, we'll be moving on to public comment for items not on tonight's agenda. We'll be using the select board's approved protocol for public comment, keeping comments to 3 minutes or less, and directing anything through the chair. We won't be making any, we won't be giving any feedback on public comment, but we can take it under advisement for future meetings. Just a reminder that if you have a comment related to an item on the agenda that's listed, please wait until that item is called. With that being said, is there any public comment on Zoom? Seeing not, is there any public comment from anyone physically present in the room? Will, you gotta help me out there?
No, sir.
All right. So we'll be moving on to notices of intent, no waiver required, pre-January 1st submissions. We'll be starting with Grell at 21 Field Avenue, SC 483882. And we simply need a motion to accept the withdrawal of this application. Is there
So
a
move,
motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda, and Joe will take you for the second. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott.
Thumbs up.
Can't hear you. Okay. Linda Williams
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg votes aye. That carries unanimously with Commissioner Turcott having technical problems, but we have enough votes, so should be fine. And then next on the agenda is 3 Star Farm LLC at 76 Eel Point Road, SU 483884. I am recused from this application, so Linda, you will need to take over as chair at this point.
Okay, this is notice of intent, no waiver required, 3 Star Farm LLC, 76 Eel Point Road, SC 483884. Representing the applicant is Mark Ritz, and I saw you over here somewhere.
Yes, good evening,
Hey.
Mark Ritz from Site Design, represent applicants at 76 Seal Point. We would like to request a continuance on this one till February 20th, so we have some additional time to review comments and concerns.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll move on.
Keep going.
We don't need a motion for this, correct, Will?
No, we just have to continue to a date certain.
Yeah, and that was February 20th, Mark?
Yes, please.
Okay, all righty. Seth, you're back.
Thank you, Linda. So we'll now be moving on to notice of intent, no waiver required. These are projects that have been filed post January 1st after the regulatory update change. Just as a reminder, we are going to go through these as a block. We have 2 here today. We have Dyson, 49 Meadowview Drive, SC 483891. And we have South Slip LLC, 29A Old North Wharf. I'm not sure it has a file number, but possibly it does and it's not listed. So would any commissioners like to open Dyson at 49 Meadowview Drive for discussion? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. Would any commissioners like to open South Slip LLC at 29A Old North Wharf for discussion? Oh, sorry. Before we do that, would any members of the public like to open 49 Meadowview Drive for discussion? Okay, would any members of the commission or public like to open 29A Old North Wharf for discussion? I would like to open this one for discussion. Yes, Art, go ahead.
Oh, if you're opening it, I'm representing it, and so
Okay, before we do that, we will be taking a motion to close the hearing for Dyson at 49 Meadowview Drive, SE 483891.
So
Do we
moved,
have a
Mr.
motion for
Chairman.
that? Thank you, and thank you, Joe, for the second. All those in, we can't do that. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Pendowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
RJ Turcott.
Aye.
Good.
Oh, he's there.
There, we can hear you.
That carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll be moving on to Southslip LLC at 29A Old North Wharf, represented by Art Gasparo. Art, good evening, and feel free to introduce the application.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would just start off to say that a file number has been issued. It is 3892.
Thank
And-
you. Could you just confirm the date and time of that, the receipt of that number?
Well, I'm just on their website,
Okay.
so I don't.
Yeah.
It so I don't know how to else I could tell you that. Let me just.
I can jump into it. if
Yes,
that's all right.
thank you. Thank you, Will.
I do know quite often those will reflect on the DEP website before I even get the zero notification, so I can look that up and check right now while we're here, but I know that's frequently the case.
Yeah, I ask, and I don't mean to be annoying with this, but when we did the procedural update, we did make the change that any information received after 3 o'clock on the meeting date will require continuance to the next hearing. So we could
I
just.
think it was before that because
Okay.
it's further down the list.
All right, we'll check on it, but yeah, feel free to go ahead and introduce
Okay.
it.
And I'll start off with the project, but just also for your information, their DEP did not have any technical comments with the issuance of the file number. And that'll segue into this project is to replace an existing what we call a wave fence. It's essentially a series of vertical timber boards that exist along side of an existing pier. It's been in existence for some time, and some of the boards of there's been some they're getting older, and there's also some damage that had occurred from essentially a ship strike, and so they're actually broken. And I included photos in the application. The work would be conducted both from a barge as well as from and when I say a barge, I think it would probably be a fairly smaller size, not like a full dredging type size barge, as well as from the pier itself, to unbolt, remove the existing boards, carry them out, or put them on the barge and take them away that way, not letting anything fall into the water. We also received back the response letter from DMF, and they didn't have any comments either. So it's we're not increasing. It's an in-kind, like-kind replacement timber. We're not proposing to increase the size. It's really just a maintenance and repair type of a project. And with that, I'd be happy to address any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Art. Questions or comments from commissioners? Okay. The reason I open this is because I believe that on a theoretical level, this project definitely makes sense and should be done. But but in the spirit of correct permitting, I think we need a little bit more information as to the history and how it relates to the performance standards. Especially with our standards that changed a little bit with protecting pre and post 78 structures. If you could give, in this case, the structure would be the pier. So if you could give us a little bit more about the history of that pier and whether this is seeking to qualify under the pre 78 clause, and if not, if it's seeking to qualify under the waiver for pre-existing use. And then if it's not doing either of those things, then how it can meet the performance standards. So please, to the best of your ability, answer those questions.
Sure. If you wanted to just give me just a minute, I did quite a bit of research and work related to this pier. Many of you may recall a couple of years ago, we were before you to permit dredging through here, and I probably could very quickly give you an old when I say old, a historic aerial that that depicts this pier. I don't want to belabor the point, but if I could hopefully give it to you quickly, perhaps that would answer your question in a way that could avoid a um, a continuance. But if that's where we have to go, I know that they're anxious to, get the work done prior to the season.
If you have the information available, we'll consent to you showing it on the screen at this point.
Okay, thank you. I'm just opening a 1971 chart that I have that I believe shows it. And I certainly, it was. I can give you a quick little history while I look for it because I had done so much research into this. This is the oldest pier. The one next to it, the Stonefield Pier, is sort of the original pier for the harbor and the whalers, and the piece that's in there. And it's actually incredibly interesting. And then this portion of Old North Wharf had been built out off of that. I'm just trying to zoom in on the chart before and I know you've got a lot of other things before you tonight. So if I can't quickly answer this, then we will request a continuance so I can properly address that for you. Yeah, it shows probably not as clear as you would like it, I think, on this chart that I have. It shows the old ruins, but not the pier itself. I have one more minute, I could look very quickly at the photos that I know I had. Sorry, I just wasn't ready for that one question, but I don't want to take your time. Why don't I guess I could request a continuance and get you that information prior for the next meeting. If it's really an age issue, then we can do
Thank you.
that.
I mean, I do trust you with the history and the research you've done, but we do need that for the record.
Yeah. Okay, that's what we'll do then. And maybe see if there's any other questions or anything else that's needed, and then we'd request a continuance, please.
Okay, commissioners, other questions or comments? Seeing none, members of the public, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, you would like to continue to February 20th?
Yes, please.
We'll continue
As
this
soon as we finish,
application.
I'm going to click on this picture, but yes, thank you.
How it always happens.
We'll
That's fine.
we'll help you
Thank you.
out. We're gonna continue to February 20th, but if you find it within this meeting, and we have time to
Okay.
reconsider, then we might reconsider it at the end of this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But for now, we are legally required to continue to February 20th.
Understood.
All right. So we'll move on from that. So we'll move on to notice of intent waiver required pre-January 1st submissions. And I believe the first one we have is Lydia Denny Palmer LLC at 110 Wawinut Road, SC 483868, represented by Brian Madden.
Mr.
And I
Chairman,
have to recuse from this one.
as
Okay,
well
anyone
as
else?
myself. I'm sorry I didn't give you that update earlier.
That's fine. Commissioner Mizzarelli and Commissioner Williams are recused. Anyone else? Okay, we still have 5 commissioners. We are good to proceed. So Brian, please introduce the project.
Apologies, I was half listening. Sorry. Did you jump ahead to minor mods already or?
Oh,
No, we're at Lydia Denny Palmer LLC at 10 Wellminute Road.
Oh, apologies. We had submitted a continuous request prior to the meeting. Sorry.
No worries. I didn't have it. But with that being said, was the continuous request for February 20th?
Yes, to the 20th. Yeah.
Okay, this will then continue to February 20th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. All right, so we'll go now to Thank You Aline Nominee Trust 3 Wires Way, SC 483876, represented by Art Casparo. Art, hello again.
He's at the library.
All right, are you there?
either
I
that
see
or
his picture.
Oh.
Wonder if I
Not
can.
much we can do because he has 4 projects in a row, so.
Oh,
Text him. We're just moving so fast.
We need to bone up on our Zoom skills. It's been a while.
see if
Yeah, for sure.
Will, do you have any way to get in touch with him?
I just texted him.
Oh, that beat me to it. I just did a scrub real quick just to make sure I didn't miss a continuance from him, and I did not, so.
Yeah, I don't want to move on from the public hearing and then to the public meeting and go back, so we
Give me 1 second. We're moving quick, so if nobody's in a real rush, I'm gonna try to. At my office. Linda, do you want to give Art a call?
Yeah, can somebody call him?
I did. He was monitoring the planning board meeting at the same time because FinCom's meeting it. That's why we're in the trailer.
He's here. He's
My
here.
But he's coming.
apologies. I'm
All
trying
right.
to juggle a planning board meeting and unfortunately at the same time. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You're up for Thank You Aline Nominee Trust at 3 Wires Way, SC 483876.
I just want to get that other one out so the volume's not. These conflicting meetings are challenging. This is the second public hearing. Are we taking these two together, Mr. Chairman, as we did last time?
Yes, we can take this and 3WW Nominee Trust at 3B Wires Way, SC 483877 together.
So there were some questions last time from both an abutter and the board. And what we did was to revise the plan slightly so that we pulled the retaining wall off of the northwest corner to and I had some discussions with that abutter so that the water would not get impounded on his property, and made a commitment to the owners did, to be careful there. I guess if you would say all the way for this, what's on the screen right now, all the way up into the northwest corner. And that way there, the water, the overland flow from the higher area to the north could still go down and recharge that existing wetland on the west side of the property. And there was also some questions about the groundwater data. There's been a monitoring well on this property for several years that the owners had monitored, and then we also monitored it right at what we thought would be the highest level in the spring. And so I included that data in the letter. And in fact, we established an elevation on that, and that is where we have held the bottom of the footings. So the bottom of the footings are at the highest observed water over several years. And we have requested that waiver for the 2 foot separation distance, but keeping the structure actually out of the groundwater to avoid any adverse impact. The other change on the plan before you is that the initial application had proposed to keep the 2 structures but relocate them onto the southerly lot. In between the meetings, the owners have just revisited their plans and they don't think they could work, I think, with those houses, and they want to just remove them entirely. And so the scope of the application remains similar in that there was 2 structures proposed on the southerly lot. It's just instead of relocating them and putting them on new foundations, there would be 2 new lots. We've shown the pools, even though they're outside of your jurisdiction, just for completeness of the plan and the application, so the commission knows what's happening on and the butters on the site in its entirety. As previously discussed last time, there would be there's a planting plan included with the application of native species to restore what is essentially lawn area through much of the 25-foot buffer zone. And there had been some discussion at the last meeting concerning a split rail fence that was running along there, and so why that was there. But so we removed that split rail fence. And that area would remain undisturbed. And with that, I believe that summarizes the changes to the application, and I hope addresses the questions that had been outstanding.
Thank you, Art. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Seeing none. Members of the public, either on Zoom or physically present in person, any questions or comments? I don't see any of those either. Will, do we have everything we need to close these 2 applications?
Indeed, we do, sir.
All right, would you like to close these 2 applications?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close the 2 applications for SE 483876 and SE 483877?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda and Mike, for the second. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Reggie Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. And we'll be moving on now to Pocomo Road. Would you like to open 72 and 78 together or separately?
Together, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we'll be opening 72 Pocomo Nominee Trust at 72 Pocomo Road, SC 483878.
And
Also
I did sign the thing for Art's sake. I did sign the Mullen rule, even though I was in the room.
Okay. And Seven Pines LLC at 78 Pocomo Road, SC 483879. These are represented again by Art Gasparo. Art, feel free to introduce the projects.
Thank you. Could I ask that Mr. Bailey be brought over as well? I see he's in the attendees list.
Yes, I see him there as well. Will please move Dan Bailey over to the panelists.
So this is the second public hearing for a coastal stabilization project at 72 and 78 Pocomo Road. And this is the so-called Wilkinson Array that is of the same template that has been, approved in the past and that you're familiar with. And there was some questions really related around primarily, I think, the coastal engineering structure aspect of this assemblage of materials. And, you know, we have held that we don't believe this is a coastal engineering structure. It's a, you know, a soft solution. So we have worked with Mr. Bailey to compile, you know, similar orders of conditions, and Mr. Bailey's done a legal study that might help to answer some of the questions that had been brought up with respect to that point. As far as from an engineering surveying perspective, again, it's the same as what's proposed, what exists immediately next door that had been permitted some years ago. We're amenable to all the same conditions that the other applications that have been approved in terms of monitoring, reporting, nourishment. There is an existing sand drift fence that runs this entire beach, and we would be removing that, not proposing to, well, as much as they would like to. We understand that in the past there's been some concern there, and I think the maintenance of the project as well. So we would, you know, we've agreed to take that out, and I think that this is, I think in this setting, what's been proven by these other projects on Pocomo Point on both sides is that they work well. In this area, the sand cover could be maintained, and the bank above the rolls, the vegetation does very well. And with that, and so I believe it meets the performance standards and achieves the objectives. With that, I would turn it over to Mr. Bailey.
Yes, thank you. And just before Mr. Bailey goes, I just want to acknowledge that we are in receipt of a letter from his firm, which outlines some of the points that I'm sure he'll make tonight. But Mr. Bailey, good to see you. It has been a while. Hopefully you're doing well, and feel free to introduce yourself for the record with your representation and say your piece.
So, good to see you, Commissioner Engelborg. It has been a little bit, which is you know, a little surprising, but you know, I'm sure you know things have been a little slow, but they'll pick up. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Engelborg and members of the commission. Yeah, after I was not at the last hearing, but after the last hearing, Art called me and said that there were some concerns expressed that what is being proposed here, which is a coir roll, fiber roll, you know, Wilkinson system, might in fact be a coastal engineering structure that has. So I wrote a letter explaining why under DEP precedent, there are 3 DEP adjudicatory hearings, the most recent one, I think, being decided in 2019, that found that these coir roll systems are not coastal engineering structures. They are instead soft solutions under the definition of coastal engineering structures in the regs, in the state regs. There's also a CZM policy directly on point that DEP has recognized in those adjudicatory decisions that, you know, the policy goes into a great deal of detail, and I suspect that the chair and members of the commission are pretty familiar with it, but talks about why coir roll systems are an acceptable form of soft solution, bioengineered solution, as opposed to a hard solution like a riprap or a bulkhead. And then the other thing that I pointed out in the letter is what Art has previously mentioned, which is that the commission has in the past, and I think it was 2016 and 2018, found that this sort of Wilkinson system is not a coastal engineering structure, does not require a waiver from the coastal engineering structure requirements. And just to be a little bit more specific about it, as Art mentioned, the work that was done on the bank at the property to the north at 84 Pocomo Road, the commission found in that case that the order would not adversely impact the interest protected by the Wetlands Protection Bylaw and is conditioned to mitigate effects to the resource area. Further, the commission finds that given the historical site conditions and current site conditions, there are no reasonable alternatives. And then the commission also found, as is condition number 13 or finding number 13 in that order, that the specific makeup, configuration of materials, and its proposed rate of breakdown and the focus on natural vegetation is a bioengineered option, is not considered a coastal engineering structure. What we're proposing now is virtually identical to what is next door, and we would ask the commission to approve it as an appropriate soft solution for these two particular properties. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Questions or comments from members of the commission? Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the letter, Mr. Bailey, as well. So at the last meeting, we had a brief discussion amongst commissioners whether coastal engineering structures DEP versus the local bylaw was the how we wanted to go. I have all along, well, I should say I've consistently thought that choir rolls are not coastal engineering structures, but was willing to go along with that as long as we could waiver it for this project, which I think is a good project and feel it's appropriate to be done and gives the homeowners the right to protect their property, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm sure there's going to be a few other comments from commissioners and mainly from the chair on backing up our last decision there. But I will wait to hear some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. RJ, go ahead.
Thank you, Seth. So the decision cited in Mr. Bailey's letter were prior to me being on the commission, and we're not bound by those prior decisions. They were from almost a decade ago. To me, it fits the definition of a coastal engineering structure. Some of the materials are naturally occurring, but they're assembled in a way to affect how the littoral system's working. And as far as the DEP decisions go, this is an area where we are legally allowed, and since we have our own bylaw, obligated to be more strict and have our own definition of what a coastal engineering structure is. And so, maybe at some point we can have a discussion and a regulatory update about separating these out and handling them differently. But as of right now, they're absolutely a structure that's affecting the resource area and how that system works. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Other commissioners? Seeing not, I'll make a comment at this point. So just as a general comment, as Commissioner Turcott said, the conservation commissions are given a great amount of discretion to enact local bylaws and regulations and interpret them as they see fit. Also, conservation commissions aren't bound by precedent of past commissions. I don't believe any commissioners, I know for sure none of the commissioners who are sitting on this commission today were on the commission in either 2016 or 2018. So as new members come to the commission and review the definitions, those discretionary use of language and looking at the regulations may change over time. It's my opinion that I agree with Mr. Bailey 100% in that this structure does not meet the definition of a coastal engineering structure under the Wetlands Protection Act. I don't want to challenge that at all. I think DEP is very clear, and the Wetlands Protection Act is very clear about this being not a coastal engineering structure under the WPA. But I do feel like that our Nantucket local bylaw and regulations are slightly different than the WPA to the fact where this should be viewed as a structure because it's an assemblage of materials at a fixed location to provide support. And it should be viewed as a coastal engineering structure because the purpose of that assemblage of materials is to prevent coastal erosion and storm damage and the other interests that are in that section. Just on a personal level, I don't necessarily have a problem with the homeowners wanting to do this project. I think that this type of Wilkinson Array Kawar role has been successful in the past. But we need to do two things in our review. We need to ensure that we're permitting projects correctly and that we're eliminating any potential impacts to the resource area. So I don't think we can proceed with viewing this as not a coastal engineering structure under the local regulations simply on the basis of what they say. And just as a further evidence to that, there's a discussion in Mr. Bailey's comments today and his letter about the difference between soft and hard structures. But if you look at some of the specific materials that are called out in Nantucket's local regulations for coastal engineering structure, one of them is multiple rows of fences. Now, a fence is made of wood. That's a soft, naturally occurring material, just like Kawar is a naturally occurring material. But it's not just loose and out in the open. It's been gone through a physical process to have structural support to it. So just because it's made of a natural product doesn't necessarily mean it's a soft solution. At least that's how I see it. So thank you. Other commissioners? Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to sort of break it down to brass tacks, I mean, we can go ahead and permit this with a waiver, correct?
Yes, if a waiver is applied for and granted this by this commission for an appropriate purpose, we certainly can do that and have done that in tons of other situations before.
So I guess it will be up to Art, Mr. Bailey at this point, how they want to proceed, or other
Well,
commissioner
before
comments.
we do
Obviously.
that, we do need to ask the public if they have any questions or comments, and then we will allow both Mr. Gasparo and Mr. Bailey a chance to add additional commentary here. I don't think there's any public online anymore. Anybody in the room will?
Nothing from my one member of the public.
Okay, Art or Dan, anything to add?
I'll start and I'm sure Art will have a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's reasonable minds, I suppose, can differ on whether this is a coastal engineering structure or not. It hasn't been tested in court, and we're not particularly interested in doing that. And I'm sure the commission is not either. What I would say to the commission, and I'm, Mr. Chairman, you and I, and I may not have been here for a while, but it seems like every time I am here, one of the discussions that we have is what is the extent of the authority of the commission, with respect to, how much are you bound by prior decisions? And you're absolutely correct. I'm not going to argue with you that you're entirely bound by prior decisions, but I also will say that the commission has an obligation to treat similar applicants the same way. And, when you look at Pocomo and the number of these types of systems that have been installed and approved and installed over the years, what we're proposing is very consistent with what has been approved in the past. So, what I hear, at least to some degree, is that the issue seems to be more whether we accept this as a coastal engineering structure or not, and which is approvable with a waiver, and the need to and this is where I'll go back to Art. I think we have requested that waiver. Is that right, Art?
That is correct.
Thank you. Anything else to add, Art or Dan?
No.
No, I think it's kind of been said. I guess the only thing I would add was to the point of, the not having an adverse impact, which I believe is, well supported by the other projects that are performing well and being monitored, and the bank is stable, vegetated, the beach is wide and maintains all its characteristics. So I don't think I have anything beyond that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any final questions or comments? Seeing not, Will, do we have everything we need to close on this?
We do, yes.
Commissioners, do you feel ready to close?
Yep.
Yes.
Or Dan, would you like to close? Joe, yeah, Joe, go ahead.
What are we agreeing to? That this is CES or non-CES?
Well, we don't necessarily need to agree to anything until we get to the order of conditions phase of the hearing, and then we would either need to apply the waiver in there or not apply the waiver. But if you've had enough testimony to make up your mind, then that's all we need at this point. Yes, Joe, go ahead.
Well, my mind has been the same right along on this issue, and that is we ought to be to get out of the conflicts that exist between towns and cities and whatever. For the Commonwealth's sake, we ought to be using one regulation. If this is supposed to be a core rule, fine, that's what we ought to do. If it ought to be a geotube, that's fine with me. But consistency, then we don't get into this problem because this is going to come up again and again. And we're going to be saying yes to some people and no to other people. And it's not going to look very pleasant, frankly. That's my comment.
Thank you, Joe. I personally don't feel like anybody is moving towards wanting to deny this project, but if I am wrong on that, that is fine. I think there's a difference in opinion between some commissioners and the applicants about how the project should be designated as to being either a coastal engineering structure or not. So I guess if you all just want to say whether you think it is or not, then we could clear up the confusion right now. So Tim, and we're just strictly talking about the local regulations here. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think according to the local regulations, it is a coastal engineering structure. I'd be inclined to agree to a waiver, however. So, but
Thank
yeah.
you. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not a coastal engineering structure, but we can deal with that at a future time when we look at the bylaws again, and if we want to do something. But I'm fully willing to agree to it with the waiver. I think it's a
Thank
good
you.
project.
Joe?
Waiver?
And do you think it's you think it's a CES?
No, I do
Okay.
not.
All right. And John? We can't hear you, John.
Can we stop sharing the screen?
Yes, we'll move back to John. RJ, your thoughts? Do you think it's a CS and would you apply a waiver?
Yes, I would. I do consider it a CES. I also am looking through this again and don't know if these are pre-78 or not, but I do consider it a coastal engineering structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, either Art or Dan, can you confirm the date of these structures as to whether they're pre-78 or not?
They're not.
Okay,
They're
so
not.
a waiver would be required as has been requested. John, can you hear us?
You're still muted, John.
Muted.
Zoom rookie. Lower left, there should be a mute button on your screen.
Yeah, he's
All right.
on his phone.
Linda,
okay.
Linda, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like this is a CES under the local regulations? And if so, would you apply?
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I stick with the DEP definition. I don't think it's a coastal engineering structure. I'm fine with it.
Okay, Linda?
Well, I had a foot in both camps, but I don't think it's a coastal engineering structure, but I understand your argument and RJ's argument, but I'm willing to stay on the side of no waiver, and it's not a coastal engineering structure.
Okay, and I've made my points clear that I think it is and that it should be wavered, but it actually appears we have 4 commissioners seeking to permit this project. Not as a coastal engineering structure. The protocols here require that we go with the majority, so
I
if
have a hand raised,
yes,
sorry.
we'll go ahead.
It's actually a member of the public.
Yes,
You can come on up.
okay. Introduce
I didn't
yourself
know
for
if
the
I was
record,
gonna hit the
please.
button fast enough.
Hi, my name's Willa Arsenal. I'm speaking on behalf of the Nantucket Land and Water Council. I'm sorry to just be speaking now, but I just as we follow along with this conversation, I guess from our perspective, we just would like to make the point that having these defined as a coastal engineering structure and maintaining the need for a waiver will only give the commission more discretion as these issues continue to come up. And you'll have the more ability to look at these on a case-by-case basis. And so it really just allows, in our opinion, the board to take a closer look at these as they come. I understand the DEP definition, but as we would agree with Chair Engelberg's definition of these as a CES under the Nantucket local bylaws. That's it. Thank you.
I believe RJ now has to recuse.
Thank you to the past commenter and Commissioner Williams. Please ask to be heard before you speak. And yes, Linda, go ahead.
Just repeat what I said. If she hadn't spoken, RJ is okay, but now that she's spoken, I believe RJ has to recuse. I just don't want to get into trouble with this.
Well, that's up to him and his personal capacity to figure out, and we won't tell commissioners what to do. But as we are at a crossroads here, we do seem to have a majority of people who want to move forward with the DEP guidance that Mr. Bailey is representing to permit these not as a CES, unless any of the people who made that decision, which would be Mike, Joe, John, or Linda, were moved by the last commenter and would like to change their mind. But if not, I think we're gonna go from there. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Where was Tim on this? Was he on the side of the majority?
Tim indicated that he viewed these as a CES under the local regulation definition and that it should be waived.
Okay. I'm still struggling. I said I had a foot in both camps.
We have another opportunity towards us or before us. If you think we have all the information needed from the applicant and the public, we could simply close the hearing at this time and discuss this further in orders of conditions.
Okay.
So unless anyone thinks we need more, I'll ask the applicant if they'd like to close, and then we'll take a motion to close. Will, do we have everything we need to close?
Indeed, we do, Seth.
Art or Dan, would you like to close?
I'll defer to Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Bailey, would you like to close?
Yeah, I'm fine with closing.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to close?
So moved. I'll second Joe.
Thank you, Joe, for the motion and Linda for the second. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Bill Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Engelberg votes aye. And sorry, just to clarify, that was a motion to close both these applications under SC 48, 38, 77. Nope, sorry, 38, 78, and 38, 79, 38, 78, and 38, 79.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those have both been closed, and we'll take them up again in orders of conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey
Thank
and
you.
Mr. Gasparo for your testimony today. Linda, do you have your hand raised for
Yep.
a question or comment? No?
Just a general question. When we're presented with something like this, where our local bylaws are opposite or not dovetailing with the DEP, that's something that we would have to take up and modify ours or figure out how we want to be comfortable between the two. Is that something we have done in the past?
No, because DEP specifically allowed local conservation commissions to enact their own regulations to be more stringent than the Wetlands Protection Act for this specific purpose.
Yeah.
This is the whole point of why we have local regulation, so that we can do things that are specific to Nantucket that aren't necessarily relevant elsewhere.
Okay.
So with that, we'll be moving on to public meeting. And we'll begin under orders of conditions.
Well,
Grell was withdrawn.
that's right.
We didn't close Three Star Farm. We closed Dyson and 949 Meadowview Drive, SC 48, 38, 91. So we'll, if you want to bring that up on the screen.
Well, the 20th is looking brutal.
Don't think about it
Yes.
yet. Enjoy the weekend first. Just hit and share. All right, 49 Meadowview. This order permits the proposed driveway modification and revegetation of buffer zone at 49 Meadowview Drive. No NHESP, no waiver. We had condition 18, 19, and then our lighting condition. We want to add any, we should probably add invasive species, or I'm sorry, native species and no cultivars for the revegetation of the buffer zone, but
Yeah, at the last meeting, we talked about making that a standard condition on all permits with any landscaping, and also condition not permitting any agricultural chemicals, putting those on every permit with landscaping.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes, Linda, go ahead.
So in essence, instead of just having 18 and 19 on some of these, especially if we start batching the order of conditions, we'd have an 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Most
But I'm gonna,
likely.
yeah, sorry, I just interrupted too, if I can, Seth.
Mhm.
18 and 19 are gonna get added to like the automatic general conditions. But the other ones we're only gonna be putting on if there's landscaping, so 18 and 19 will no longer be on findings pages pretty soon.
Thank you. And just for clarification, if if commissioners are a little bit less accustomed to what he's talking about, so there is a general conditions page which goes onto every permit. That's not specifically called out. These are additional conditions. And since we're putting these on every permit at this point anyways, it makes sense to just put them back into general conditions.
I was wondering why that wasn't really, we hadn't done that already.
It's just a logistical thing. It's not for any good reason.
Makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah, it does.
I am personally very proud of that because I was the person who wrote condition 19. So having it enshrined in a general condition on every project is a big honor.
Should we put your initial next to them?
We cannot, but thank you.
All right, so no fertilizer or agricultural chemicals shall be allowed within Conservation Commission jurisdiction. All restoration plantings are to be native species with no cultivars. And there was no waiver. And that is it.
Commissioners, any additions, questions, comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve as amended.
Thank you, and we'll take Joe for the second. By roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg, aye. That carries unanimously. And then I think we're gonna hop down to thank you, Aline nominee trust and 3 WW nominee trust. That those are at 3 and 3B Wires Way. They're SC 48, 38, 76, and 77.
I can start with 76. This gets filled out later anyway, but I'm just gonna delete January. Order permits the proposed relocation and removal of existing structures, pool installation, grading, landscaping. No NHESP, 18, 19 are pool conditions, lighting condition. And we also have landscaping.
Yeah, the
So,
stuff that we just did.
yeah, those are going in too. Just copy and pasting super quick. And we also had a waiver on these. Waivers were required to allow footings within 2 feet of the seasonal high groundwater. We had no reasonable alternative for the proposed project. Granted a waiver under 390, 3F, 3A. Let me just grab those two. And I'm a big fan of applying these regularly, so hopefully it will be pretty easy for me to remember that one. All right. I think that's it.
Can you show the next one and then we can vote them together?
I want that jazz hold music back. Yeah, there we go. All right. Very similar project, relocation removal. It's actually the exact same wording. This is the same one. I shared the same one by mistake. Sorry. Yeah, 3877, which is 3B Wires Way. Anyway, it's still true what I said. Same exact permit overview. This one's for 3B. We had 18, 19, and I think I edited 3B while we had the other one open. So this one, we've got 26, 27. Same waiver. Just want to make sure that the other one is correct as well, because I might have dumped all those edits on this one, but that should be it. Does anybody have anything else for this?
Nope.
Commissioners? Seeing not, is there a motion to approve and issue both of these permits for both of these orders of conditions for 3876 and 3877?
So move,
So
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, Lynn, or thank you, Mike and Linda for the second. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Misrali,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Roger Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. And we'll now be moving on to 72 and 78 Pocomo Road, SC 48, 38, 78, and 79. And Will can get this up on the screen.
Sharing 72 first. If anybody noticed one of these, I just fixed it during the meeting, but one of these had an incorrect waiver copy and pasted from another permit. So they both have the same correct waiver on them now if we're using the waiver. But 72 Pocomo Road, coastal stabilization, outside NHESP, we had 18, 19, 20, the applicant shall present a yearly report, including photographs demonstrating the condition and survivorship of the replanted area and the existing vegetated areas. Should the commission determine that additional plantings are necessary, they'll be authorized based on this discussion. And then I added in a condition 21. There's a whole section in this NOI outlining monitoring reports that they're proposing. So I said the monitoring reports outlined in the notice of intent shall be submitted yearly for staff review, and then all reports are due annually. Sorry, all reports are due by anniversary date of this permit's issuance. I know the waiver's up for discussion, and I know that there may be ideas for in here.
Before we discuss the waiver, let's talk about any additional conditions that may be required. Commissioners, thoughts, comments, questions? My turn, I guess. I think we're deficient here in some conditions that relate to the sand cover that's going to be brought. And I think we need conditions ensuring that that sand is tested for grain size, which is set in the NOI that they're going to do that. But it's also been my belief over the years that grain size simply is not enough, and that we should also be looking for biological and chemical constituents to determine if there's any pollution, looking at angularity and looking at Munsell color. So that's my thoughts there, but commissioners can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. And then I'm also concerned with how the access happens, and of course, saying that I'm not exactly sure how to write that in at the moment.
But we can certainly say that prior to the start of construction, an updated plan should be submitted to Conservation Commission for review that indicates the location of the construction access. And then we can also say if we want that said construction access should remain staked throughout the installation of the project. We have a lot of opportunity to work in that space. Yes, Tim, go ahead.
I just wanted I tend to agree with you on the sand, the requirements for the sand. Just wanted to let you know.
All right. Other commissioners?
Go with that.
Um, I know we just threw a lot of conditions at Will. It might make
Yeah,
sense for
it's
us to continue these over to the next hearing, but before we do that, we should try to get a definitive answer on the waiver. So
I could super quick, Seth.
yes, go ahead.
It is too bad because I normally would be able to apply these conditions, but I'm kicked off of our share drive, which is a classic thing I have to say, but
Well,
can't hold
we are able
permit.
to hold it over till the 20th if we need to.
I think that'd be
To
Okay.
meet
great.
our regulatory requirements, but before doing that, it sounded like during the notice of intent section when the hearing was open, seems like 4 commissioners wanted to proceed with permitting this not as a coastal engineering structure. That would require no waiver to be included with this project. We do have to sort of definitively decide if we're going with that or not at this point. So if anyone wants to change their mind or make an additional comment, go ahead. Yes, Tim.
Yeah, did we not vote several weeks ago that that a quar would be considered a coastal engineering structure? Or am I misremembering?
So permitting is a tricky business. First of all, every permit has to be viewed strictly on the merits of the project on the site itself. So even
Okay.
if we did vote that another project at another location on island should be viewed as a coastal engineering structure, we could still say that this one was or wasn't. The other problem is that the other project that we probably shouldn't reference by name or address to not run afoul of any issues. We made that discussion and we came to that conclusion, but said hearing is still open and has not been closed and the order has not been issued. So at this
Right.
point, it is just an opinion. It is to talk about precedent, it is really nothing at this point. I've
Hmm.
said my points on precedent many times, how it doesn't matter and it should be not even really considered. But we do need to base our decision on this project on the information in the record for this project and this um, address only.
Well, that messes me up now.
It does, but it is what we have to do.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Wow.
Yes, RJ, go ahead.
To Commissioner Brain's point, though, yes, the projects are separate to the chair's point, but we're not agreeing on a definition, and definition should carry over regardless. So it's a discussion we are going to have eventually.
We will have to have that discussion eventually, and I can assure you that in May at our next regulatory update meeting, we'll be having a specific discussion about whether to add Kawar Terrace into the list of called out things that are under coastal engineering structure or not. But until that time, we are subject to the discretion of the commissioners. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
I thought at the last meeting, I sort of mentioned I'd like to have a policy meeting or an update meeting or organizational meeting long before May. So that
Okay.
I'm still angling after that.
Well, we can certainly do that, but at whatever meeting that is, that will be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
We do have
So,
one
but we're stuck here right
scheduled for
now,
May.
right? We're stuck with where we want to go with this one right now on this particular project, correct?
Yes, we need to make a decision based on the language that we currently have in our regulations and the commissioner's assessment and discretion of what that language means. We can't
Can
do
you
it.
explain to me your position, why it needs a waiver and why it is a CES again? Under our local bylaw, obviously the DEP, we all know.
Sure. So there's 2 separate definitions that come into play here. The first is that we have a definition of what structure is. And I would paraphrase, but since I have the regulations open anyways, I'll just get the exact definition. So 1 second. Let me get to the right spot here. So that's got too many different regulations open now that we have two different regs and the WPA to work on, but just give me 1 second. All right, well, I'll find it at some point, but basically structure says that it's a assemblage of materials located at a fixed location to provide structure or support. It's my definition that a coir array, which contains not just the coir, but it's coir that is bundled in a specific way, anchored in a specific way, planted with vegetation, and then covered with sand, is certainly an assemblage of materials that's in a fixed location. It's specifically anchored into a fixed location. So I think it's definitely a structure based on that definition. And then when you go to structure coastal engineering, it says that structures are coastal engineering if the purpose of that structure is to, let me find this one. So I don't speak incorrectly. So here we go. Too many regulations open. All right. Definitions. All right, so structure coastal engineering is any structure intended or constructed so as to prevent or alleviate storm damage or modify tidal action, wave action, littoral flow, or erosion. And if you look even at what the notice of intent from the applicant says, they're specifically indicating that the purpose of this coir array is to prevent erosion and modify tidal action and alleviate storm damage. So if we go as so far to define this as a structure, then I think it would be impossible at that point to say that it's not a coastal engineering structure. It's either not a structure at all,
Or it is.
it's a structure and it's a coastal engineering structure.
All right, now explain to me conversely, what is the argument that it is not a CES?
The argument is based on DEP guidance, some legal cases, and past permitting history by this commission and other commissions that they viewed the type of array not as an assemblage of materials. That was essentially the discussion at the time. It was a soft pile of stuff essentially that didn't rise to the level of being considered an assemblage of materials meant to provide structure or support. I will say though, because I've reviewed those applications and those hearings, Mr. Bailey is correct in that past Nantucket Conservation Commissions did find that, but it certainly wasn't a unanimous decision. I know many times past commissioners and even one of our past chairs voiced the same concerns that I'm voicing now, but maybe they didn't get so far along in the process to change everyone else's mind. But this is certainly a question that has been brewing in the Conservation Commission's minds for as long as these Pocomo projects have started to be proposed. It's not a new thing. It was discussed at the time and is being discussed again now.
Well, I think it's worth discussing because, as I said, I've got a foot in both camps because to me, it is an assemblage of materials used to stop erosion or flood damage, wave action. How do I pick one from column A and one from column B?
I think you don't have to. I think we could easily say that it meets the definition of coastal engineering structure under the Nantucket local regulations and issue a permit with a waiver for the local regulations only, and then issue another permit under the state regulation, saying it meets the performance standards under that. We're considering doing that same process for another permit or another application that we have before us at this commission right now anyway. So
We could issue
before
two different
before we go
permits,
ahead,
one under,
sorry, Linda, we'll just go to Mike and then I'll let you speak again.
well, just explain what you just said, though. We can issue one permit under the state that says one thing and one permit under our local that says another on the same project?
Yes, we actually have the
Okay.
capacity to do that in any and all projects. We
Okay.
typically issue one joint permit that covers
Right.
both the state act and the local act, but we're not required to. We could issue two permits on every project if we wanted to. It would just be
I think
redundant.
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm comfortable because I have a foot in one and a foot in the other. That would
Okay.
make me more comfortable. So that's where
right.
I am.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm sticking with my position that might not surprise anybody, but I am certainly signaling a large willingness to talk about it at the regulatory hearing, where I just feel like there'll be some more people who can put public input into it and get a chance to speak. I know it's the commission's decision, but we work with a lot of respected engineers, etc. So I'm sticking with where I was. I think it really comes down to what Linda wants to do right now. If we're going to go for the waiver or both permits or what, but looking forward to discussing it at the next regulatory hearing.
Thank you, Mike. And we are going to hold this order over to the 220 meeting. I'm not telling you to change your mind in between then and now and then, but we'll all have a little bit of time to mull this over and decide how we want to proceed. So John, go ahead.
Yeah, so if we don't decide it's a coastal engineering structure, can we not put these conditions we've been talking about on it? Sorry, I have terrible voice.
We can certainly apply conditions to any permit. There might be a little bit more we can do if we move towards issuing this as a waiver project,
Okay,
but I don't want to get too far into that yet.
okay, that's
Theoretical.
I'm kind of leaning that way now, I think, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, it just strikes me that the term coastal engineering structure isn't very useful in this case. And not very nuanced, and it's just causing so many problems. We need to change this somehow. So in the next discussion.
So we can change it. We certainly can create a new definition under our local regulations that would be something else. But then we'd still be in the same situation as we are now, in that the Wetlands Protection Act specifically refers to things either as coastal engineering structures or not. So if you use a different definition, then we'd still have to view the projects on the basis of both regulations. So it might cause actually more of a headache to do that.
State will just have to catch up to us.
All right. Any other commissioners' comments on anything, waiver or conditions? And if not, I think we're gonna direct Will to write up both possibilities for us. Will, is that acceptable to you?
Completely
Yeah.
acceptable. I
And
do
then
just
How
we'll
want
about
go-
one that combines both of them, like we just did, a combination, so that's three different ones. One where it's not, one where it is, and one that combines the two of them, which is where I'm headed.
Yep, all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Him and Jeff will write those all up. This isn't the first time they've done this. And then we're gonna decide, we have to decide at the February 20th meeting what we want to do, because then we're at the end of our regulatory window.
Okay.
Is that all
quick.
set? Yeah, Will, go ahead.
I just want to let you know now, because you will not hear from me tomorrow, but I'm running out on vacation until I'll be back on Wednesday. So maybe we can chat Wednesday and just catch up on this.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Anything else before we move on?
Nope, a good discussion though.
Thank you. It is tricky, and I do appreciate and hear both sides. I think we are at sort of an interesting cutting edge of permitting that no one else is having to deal with, but such is life on Nantucket. All
Cutting
right.
edge, voluminous.
Always
So
entertaining.
I believe that is the end of our orders of conditions. We don't
Yes.
have any requests for determination of applicability or delineations today. We'll be moving on to minor modifications, but before we move directly into these hearings, I just want to confirm that at the last meeting, there was some lack of clarity on whether the old or new regulations applied to minor mods, and we have definitively answered that. The new regulations only apply to notices of intents or RDAs. They don't apply to minor mods, certificates of compliance, or extension requests, or amended orders of conditions, which is interesting, but that's what the regulation says. So we will hear these minor mods, and we will hear them on the basis of the regulations that existed prior to January 1st.
Cool.
With that being said, our first minor mod is Squam Holdings LLC at 31 Squam Road, SE 483670, represented by Brian Madden. Brian, hello again.
Hello again. Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC. This project, if you remember, we presented at the last meeting. It's just for some structural footprint updates within the 100-foot buffer zone to a coastal dune. The order was issued back in 2023, and the structural footprint revisions result in a decrease in structure in the 100-foot buffer zone. This is all outside the 50-foot buffer zone, and there's some additional improvements outside the 100-foot, but relatively simple project, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions or comments from commissioners?
Yep.
Will, do you have a recommendation for this project?
Yep, and I was trying to share my screen, but Adobe crashed. We did share these last meeting, but I can still try. I was recommending we issue the minor mod.
Thank you. Is there a motion to issue the minor mod?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and we'll take Joe for the second by roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli, Mike,
Aye.
Joe Pandelsky,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg votes aye. That carries unanimously.
Thanks so much.
Thank you as well. And then we'll move on. We'll take these next two together. They are ARB Way LLC at 9 Arbor Way, SC 483526, and 42/44 Arb Way LLC, also at 9 Arbor Way, SC 483589, represented by David Haynes. David, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for taking this. Thank you, Will, for clarifying the status of this. It's much appreciated. The the minor mod is the one for the first one is just to construct basically a boardwalk, a little sidewalk across the on the landward side of the. What's that? Oh, okay. A little boardwalk, more than 75 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland, and on the opposite side of the house from the wetland. And the other thing is install a propane tank outside of the buffer zone, but within land subject to coastal storm flowage. All the rest of this project would stay the same. The work that's proposed on the putting green side is for planting of basically enhancing the vegetated buffer nothing within 37.5 feet of the wetland, so we don't exceed the 50% rule within 25 and 50, but all indigenous, all non-cultivars, species to establish basically a natural vegetated buffer in that zone, extending outside past the 50 into the 50 to 75-foot zone. That area is all existing lawn as part of the putting green. And so basically we felt that was an approvable project, and that landscaping was approved under the original minor mod or original order of conditions. And we will be coming back and asking for an extension on that because it's due to expire in April. But anyway, I think they are minor changes that I felt would qualify for minor mods.
Thank you, David. Will, do you have a recommendation for us on these projects?
Yep, I'm recommending issuing both of these minor mods, and just out of curiosity, was anything on the screen for you guys? Because everything froze,
No.
including
No.
Zoom, but we're back.
No, but
I'm,
they were the plans were shown at the past hearing, so we should be good in that sense.
and I'm not gonna try to share anything, not that we
I
have
make
to.
a
Anyway,
motion to issue both of them.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Is that John?
yes.
Thanks, John. By roll call vote, Tim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
RJ,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
and I vote aye. That carries unanimously for both of those. We'll be moving on to certificates of compliance.
Thank you
We
very
have
much.
one, which is Ferguson at 50 Hulbert Avenue, SE 483553. Says Jeff Blackwell on it, but I'm not sure about that. Will, are you taking this?
Yep. And I am not gonna share the order because everything's exploding when I do that. But this was for 50 Hulbert Ave, SE 483553. It was for the relocation and replacement of an existing structure and hardscaping. This was in land subject to coastal storm flowage. We had no NHESP. Everything was in compliance on the site and was constructed as shown on the plans. And it only had conditions 18 and 19. So I was recommending issuance of the COC with no continuing ongoing conditions.
Thank you, Will. Before we go there, Jeff Blackwell, if you watch this later, or any other representatives who may be on, we did change our procedures in the procedural update to require that when you submit certificate of compliance requests that you include the whole order with the conditions. So please do that. That makes it easier for Will not to search through everything, and it makes it easier for the commissioners to see. But apart from that, is there a motion to issue this certificate of compliance?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
I'll
Linda.
second.
Who's the second? Joe will second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mike will second. By roll call vote, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Roger Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Thingleberg, aye. That carries unanimously. We have no extension requests tonight. Move on to other business. We have no minutes to approve. And under monitoring reports, there are several in our packet related to NCF's invasive species programs that they have ongoing. So if commissioners have any questions or comments on those, you can direct them to Will for further clarification. We'll be moving on to committee reports. Correct, Tim?
Nothing new.
CPC, John,
Nothing new here.
and PNEDC, Mike,
Nothing to report.
and Harbor Plan, Linda.
We're meeting on Monday. We are working through it, trying to get a final draft in the next probably 2 months.
Sounds good. Commissioners' comments?
Great meeting, Mr. Chairman, as usual.
Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We went out to 76 Eel Point Road this past week. It was kind of a fun outing, a huge property.
Sorry.
We really couldn't
Mike,
figure.
sorry. We shouldn't be talking about
It's actually a
applications.
request, but okay.
Well, here's the problem. We shouldn't be talking about applications by their property number that have an listed item on the agenda. And if we are talking about them, since I'm recused from it, I certainly shouldn't be here. So
Okay, let me
just
rephrase the question without.
yeah.
Long story short, I want to request at a property inspection to have the engineer there. So if I should just direct that to Will?
Yes.
You're not going to get it.
It's certainly within our capacity for any project to request that engineers or other representatives appear. And you can ask Will to coordinate with them, but we should not be talking about specific projects under commissioners' comments. Sorry.
Understood. I should have done it. I should have done it when it was up, but it went
No
fast.
worries. Will, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, even if I can even just make a staff comment, I was gonna say, I know exactly what Mike is looking for. I'm gonna send that email like now during the end of the meeting, because I don't want to disappear for 5 days and then ask them to figure that out. But I think a site visit with the reps would be really helpful. So I'll get that sent out and we'll see what happens.
Do I need to email you something, Will?
No, you're fine. I'm gonna write the email now and I'll let everybody know. It should be for the scheduled site visit day, but if for some reason that doesn't work and they might be able to do a different day, I'll get in touch with everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
And
you.
just as a matter of general principle, commissioners or the commission itself is not restricted to one field viewing. If
Yeah.
a project requires multiple field viewers, you could go 10 times if it was needed. I mean, let's not be excessive. Don't just go there every day to have your lunch, but if you need more information to gather about the project site, then that's certainly fine. Okay, Linda, go ahead.
I have an issue with that. Most of our engineers, I'm not talking about surveyors like Art and Paul and all those guys are here. The engineers like Brian and Mark and Don Bracken, a lot of those guys are not here. And having them on site, we're not allowed to have any discussion of the merits with them on site. So there's not much that the engineer is going to be able to say to you legally without an open meeting law violation or having to post everything. I know Will's got his hand up. So, and I know he does that as a norm just to protect us. But I personally am not going to require an engineer to come over here for a half an hour.
Yeah, Linda,
Especially
so
I'm not requiring an engineer.
We're not
Okay.
requiring anybody to do anything. We're requesting that they come to make the property access easier or less confusing. But if they say no, then they say no.
I'm not going to do that.
Also, yeah, we'll go ahead.
Just real quick, I'm gonna just say, I think it's extremely helpful when we have engineers on site. They actually can say quite a bit. They can go over any observable facts on the site plan or parts of the NOI. I think that it has shown time and time again that it provides tons of clarification for the commission. So I'm gonna ask if they can come, and it will be super helpful if they can.
Thank you. And I guess I'll say my commissioner's comment at this point related to this issue, in that you are allowed to post field viewings as a meeting.
Right.
And in other communities and other conservation commissions, they routinely post every one of their field viewings as a meeting. We don't do that. We tend to keep them solely for the purpose of information only. But I have been on, I believe only one, but at least one field viewing on Nantucket for a project that was applied for here that was posted as a meeting. So it is possible and it has happened in just the last 6 years. So if we do want to go that route, we can, but we probably don't need to.
Well, I believe, Seth, the last one I was on where we did post was that one where they cut down all the trees in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah, that was definitely posted because we were all out there.
All right. So we're gonna proceed. It's just a request, and it will be a nice, polite email from Will, and that those applicants can, or any applicants who receive that request can do with whatever they want with that email. But
Because remember, I can't do any Tuesday views now because you've moved it from Monday to Tuesday. Because at 4 o'clock, I have to be at HTC.
yeah, we are aware.
I do that, I do them myself.
That's fine. Yeah, anyone's allowed to go on their own time or to ask Will to accompany them whenever works.
I love doing that, guys. Don't be afraid to ask.
RJ, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you. Just that I'm in support of that too. Like, if they can make it, it is super helpful, especially on the more complicated ones. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' comments? Okay, enforcement actions. I know we definitely have at least one.
Yes. So I won't go wildly into detail, but it is okay to mention the property and everything like that, but I like to hold discussion until we have fully issued and whatnot, but I have a GIS screenshot. I think everybody's probably seen this at this point, right? I know I had a bunch of the commission with me, but I am almost 100% certain that everybody's taking a drive-by at this point. But out in Wawanet, adjacent to the trustees gatehouse, the back portion of this lot that I'm sharing now here. It's a lot on Plover Lane, but it doglegs back and abuts Wawanet, and there is a we're still zooming. There's a sizable little mapped state mapped wetland here that extends onto this property and through it. This is a little estimate of what 100-foot buffer would look like. So I put that in there just to show that the buffer zone's pretty much cover this entire portion of the lot, or very close to it. But this was essentially all cut, all the brush, all the understory was removed and then masticated. The majority of the existing mature trees are there. But there was definitely some amount of cutting that took place, because there's a bunch of stacked brush and whatnot. So anyway, it's a pretty large area, and Will is looking to have this enforcement order ratified, and we'll send it out tomorrow. And if we can set a date, which I like to say 21 days or 30 days or so, but if we can set a date that we're requiring them to come to a meeting by and all that tonight, then it'll be good to send out basically like a fully fleshed out enforcement order. And that's about all I had to say about that. I think it was pretty self-explanatory for anybody that's seen it, and at the next meeting, I'll put up pictures and all that sort of stuff. So
Thank
That
you,
is it.
Will. We'll allow commissioners' comments in a little bit, but before we do that, just to clarify, the address associated with this property is 14 Plover.
Yep, thank you.
And the once this violation was discovered, Will issued an enforcement order that required the property owner to cease and desist. And at our meeting tonight, we need to ratify that enforcement order and potentially amend it with additional actions. Those additional actions usually consist of requiring the owner and any other violator responsible, that could include landscapers or contractors, to appear before the commission at a specific date to discuss what happened and how they're going to remedy the violation. There are also other actions we can take if we decide. We can issue fines or do other actions, but typically we start at requiring the violator to appear before us. So, Linda, go ahead.
Question.
Yes.
From an eyeball level, it's hard to see how far in. Do we have any, without a drone going up, to see how far in that cut goes? Because we can't go all the way in there.
We can.
No, we
Did he?
went. We can, and we have gone. I don't know if you made it up there today, Linda, but
Just from the roadside. I'm not getting Lyme again. I've had it twice badly.
Okay, the rest of the commissioners entered the site and we saw it, and the entirety of the parcel has been altered in some way. There
Including
are
my point focus was the wetland area, because you can see it on the aerials, but he cut the wetlands down also.
Yeah, 100% of the wetland area and the buffer zone has
The
been
entire parcel.
altered.
Okay.
Wall to
So
wall surveyed and
it also was clear at our site visit that, we have the state maps, but it was clear that this was a wetland. There was an open pond-like area. There was water bubbling through the surface, clearly
Oh,
indicating
great.
hydric soils. There was remnants of cut wood debris everywhere. As Will said, some of the mature trees remained, but I'm not convinced that they all remained. There was definitely some tree limbs that clearly you could see were freshly cut, and it's possible that other trees were removed. I found a bottle of chainsaw bar oil on the ground there, so
Great.
somebody definitely had a saw and was doing work in there. It's significant alteration. Um, it's one of the most significant violations I've seen in a long time. So we should definitely proceed with the enforcement.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just sort of taken aback why somebody would do that out in a rural area. More than likely, they have a MIPA problem, a habitat problem. There's a bunch of
Yeah,
other stuff going on.
I'm sure they'll have lots of other issues. Our concern is not why they did it, but to remedy what they did. So that's all we can do at this point.
That's several acres of property, is it not?
It is, yeah. Or I don't know about
Thanks.
several, but it's large. So we need to have a discussion about how many days we would like to extend to the property owner or the violator to appear before us. Um, you know, if it was the 20th meeting, that would only be 14 days. That's not really a lot. So we could make them appear at the next meeting, which I believe is on March 6th. That would be 28 days approximately. Commissioner's thoughts on that?
Does it have to be an exact amount of days, or would we
It
say like
does.
30
Yeah.
days?
It can say 30 days, but yeah, it ultimately won't make a difference because it's going to be at the meeting that they appear. So
What were the dates again,
Um,
Seth?
The next meeting is the 20th, and then after that is, I believe, March 6th.
That's correct, March 6th.
Okay,
I would
I'd
opt
be
for the
willing for
March
March
6th meeting.
6th. I'd be
Okay.
willing to March 6th also. And it's only an acre. It's a little over an acre of land.
Yeah. So the commissioners support requiring the violator to appear before us at the March 6th Conservation Commission meeting to indicate what happened with
Correct.
the violation and who else was involved, and including landscapers or other contractors.
I'll make that motion.
Yes.
Okay, before you do that, the motion needs to be a little bit different, but we need a motion to amend the enforcement order to include that condition, and then to ratify the enforcement order.
Okay, that's my motion
Okay, is there a second?
for March
Second.
6th.
We'll thank you, Linda. We'll take Joe for the second by roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Ingeborg, aye. And while we're still on this action, would commissioners like to issue fines to the property owner or to just wait and see?
I'd like to wait and see, give him I'm all for the fines, like $50 a day, whatever that is.
It is 50
Which
bucks a
means
day,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm all willing to wait until March 6th so he comes up with some sort of a excuse.
Okay, Joe?
I was gonna say, forget the fines. I believe the maximum is $300.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
ridiculous.
joke.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
we
Yeah,
we did try.
I'll wait till March 6th. Sorry,
Okay.
Seth. Go ahead.
We did try to increase our fine in capacity when we reviewed the regulatory update, and we were told we don't really have much of an ability to do so. So
It was kind of stupid.
yeah, I
But then we
mean,
did extract a fair amount of money out of Wisconsin. So that may be where this is gonna head.
yeah, it's just state laws related to non-criminal disposition and all that fun stuff. If we ever do have, well, probably we should talk about this after we move on. But Will, is there anything else to say about 14 Plover?
No, and I don't even really have to talk.
Okay,
Okay.
and yes, while we're in enforcement actions in general, we generally proceed with enforcements under the civil route and the non-criminal disposition route. We certainly have the ability and possibility to pursue criminal fines, but it would have to be something extraordinarily unique and egregious to go down that route.
Like topping trees, maybe?
Maybe. There's been some off island that I've reviewed, and they're orders of magnitude more serious than what we're talking about here. So
We're talking super fun site creator
yeah,
type
we're
stuff, right?
talking like big box stores like building their entire building inside of a wetland or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we look like small potatoes over here.
So, anyways,
Good
anything
job.
else on enforcement actions, Will?
That is it for now.
Okay.
Okay,
Any staff reports?
Um,
no,
there may have been a staff report to give. It's escaping me now, but I will just say, and my auto reply will tell you this, but you may not be able to reach me until Wednesday morning. I will be birding in America.
Nice.
and anybody
Enjoy
who
that
hasn't seen
exciting
his birding
vacation.
pictures, you need to see his birding pictures of the cardinals and stuff. Unbelievable stuff.
Good for you.
Yeah,
And as
sure.
always, Lisa and Jeff are always available.
Yep, and I'll
Um,
be back and whatnot, and I can't wait.
okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda
Second.
and Joe for the second by roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. Thank you all for a good meeting and have a nice night.
You too.
Thank you,
Have a
guys.
great
Thank you.
weekend.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Where'd everything go? End stream. I'm glad you were here because it's very weird to be in an empty room.